Well, hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of On Point, brought to you by REM Times, a global hub for the real estate management industry. Now, in this episode, we are exploring a key term that is often used during many industry discussions, but always welcomes a very mixed response. The term I'm talking about is sustainability. More specifically, sustainability in the built environment. No doubt, with rapid urbanization, building faster, better, and to a higher green standard is a necessity for more companies these days. Therefore, advanced construction, resilient infrastructure, new spaces, and greater sustainability play an important role in the built environment. However, it takes time. And this time, we want to take a step back and reflect on what the market is really demanding and in what we call sustainable services. I'm Megha Anthony, the senior editor of REM Times. And giving me more insight into the subject matter is a very special guest here with us from Belgium, Tom Ryckaert, a board member of IFMA Belgium chapter and a global business development manager by profession. Mr. Tom brings with him over 20 years of experience in the facilities management and real estate industry at large. So welcome, Mr. Tom, and thank you again for taking some time out for us.
Thank you, Megha, for the kind words and for having me.
The pleasure is all ours. Now, coming to the topic of the hour, sustainability. Now, as I said earlier, this is one term that brings in a lot of mixed reactions. So I want to start our conversation by asking you, how do you view this term?
Yeah, I think this has always been on the top of the agenda of all companies in the past. But the last 2.5 years were a little bit special, of course, due to the pandemic. A lot of things happened in the real estate and facility management market. And before that, everybody was already talking about sustainability. And even 10 years ago, it was also on the agenda. But then it was always looking at more a specific topic, like how can we reduce the carbon footprint, for example. And of course, this is just one topic in the whole sustainability story. But how I look at sustainability, I think it changed a lot in the last years. And I like to talk more about ESG. So ESG, the E stands for environmental, of course, the S for social, and the G for governance. And I think this is really the umbrella and is defining a lot of criteria to meet sustainable goals. Also looking at legislation that is now coming at a fast pace to us, looking at, for example, in Europe, where we have the Green Deal 2030, where there are a lot of action domains that are obliged to achieve for a lot of companies. So I think looking at the built environment, and that's also a very broad scope, of course. It's not only corporate offices, but also production sites or tourism or healthcare or transport, you name it. They are all looking at this. How can we contribute to this and to all these domains? And I think going back then more to the real estate and facility management, I think there are a lot of different stakeholders that are needed to achieve those objectives. And I think the last 2 years, facility management and real estate came to a higher level. So not only on an operational level, but more to tactical and strategic. And it's if you combine these different stakeholders like facility management, human resources, corporate real estate, and IT, then you're going to create value for the built environment, because you're going to combine workforce and workplace. And I think that is really important. And bringing that, of course, to sustainability, I think there are many topics to cover, but maybe we can further explore that with the next question, maybe.
Yes, definitely. Now, coming to this industry, I know that you have seen both sides of the coin. You have seen it as a supplier and also currently as a service provider. So that's why I want to ask you, We can witness that the market is demanding more sustainable services, but how do you see the market implement this change?
Yeah. So again, I think everybody is doing his best, so that's already a good thing. But again, it's how you look or the point of view to the built environment, and I think there are always different stakeholders again. So at the one hand, you have the building owners, so the real estate companies, the real estate development companies. You have the building occupiers. So these will become the tenants from those buildings, and on the other hand, you have the service providers. And they all look at this built environment and they all have their objectives. So the main question is how can they contribute and achieve these objectives? And sustainability is one of those challenges. So and that is really what we are seeing now. So the workplace, of course, also changed a lot the last years in really a lot of parts in all around the globe. We're talking now more about hybrid way of working, of course, and this has a big impact on the occupancy rates in buildings. So knowing that 1/3 of energy emission global wide is caused by buildings, this is really a big impact. So how can you do something about that? And I think also with, like I said, hybrid way of working, you're going to look at the occupancy rates and also can see how you can adapt your energy consumption to that. And now you can go more in an optimal way using the buildings that we have, for example. But that's not the only thing. I see a lot of things going on in the market. We are already talking for many years about, for example, war for talent. I don't like that term. I like to say love for talent, because every company, if you are in real estate and facility, or you're in the banking, finance, healthcare, whatever you are, everybody is looking for the best employees. So that's the case. So how are you going to find them, attract them, and keep them working for you? So I think that's really important. Sustainability is not a loose, how to say that, definition anymore. People who are looking to work for a company, they want to be proud about that company. So I think corporate branding is really important. So, and sustainability is playing a big role into that. So I think this is really, yeah, helping how to say that, companies with finding right people also. So I see on different domains, this is more HR related. If you go back to more facility management, I think also when people are coming to an office, it's, yeah, you want to make sure that they can work in a healthy and safe environment. This is also has to do with kind of ESG uh, definition, because it's more on the social aspect. Are we going to see that it's the right temperature, the humidity, the CO2, all those kind of things? Are you going to increase the total experience, for example, for the employees? So there are a lot of things, and also if you look like example for the top trends from Gartner, they also say, for example, total experience or hyper automation. What's that in God's name? Hyper automation. It's about how you can automate a lot of processes, and again, sustainability is linked to that. To give, for example, just a small example, you have your HVAC, so a heating, ventilation, and cooling installation, and it's working fine. It's still cooling, but you have your BMS system, your building management system, that is measuring that the energy consumption of that installation is really high. So it's no longer standard. So in a hyper automation approach, this would mean that the building management system is generating a lot of data from that installation, of course, and is going to measure, okay, something is going wrong. So at a certain point, the installation will have a defect. So we have to do something with that. So combining that with a software like integrated workplace management system, for example, is going to create an end-to-end process where the data is going to a decision engine and is going to make a decision and act as an how to say that, artificial intelligence, where you're going to generate an automatic work order for a technician. So a technician is already on his way before something happened. So these are all possible solutions talking about sustainability in a built environment. So hey, I can talk about this for hours. That's not an issue, but I just want to give you some examples that it's really wide.
Yeah.
It's tipping HR, it's tipping the building, it's tipping your smart building. Yeah.
It's almost as if we needed to be omnipresent from the every aspect of the built environment. So
Yes.
I want to, dig in a little bit more about the ESG that you were talking about. Now, you have always helped many clients drive their businesses forward through technology. Now, looking at the recent European Green Deal, sustainability has been at the top of all of its agendas. So, how do you think technology can contribute to achieving ESG's objectives?
Yes. So first of all, technology is a tool to help you to achieve these objectives. I think that's the first important point. I think the first important thing you have to do is really, as a company, doesn't matter in which domain or sector you are, is really define your ESG strategy. I think there it all starts with. You have to be clear about what your objectives are as a company, and make sure that you also set certain timelines with how you're going to achieve these. But to come back to your question, technology, of course, can help a lot with this. And this is talking about more how are you going to create, for example, a digital twin from your building. Everybody knows BIM, and with new buildings renovations, most of the time you have those BIM models, and this helps a lot with creating a digital twin. But it's not stop only with that. I'll come back on the other things later on. But it's really you have to capture the data, of course, in a central place, and connecting all these ecosystems. Because at the one hand, I was talking about a building management system that is connecting all your assets, your installations in a building. But you also have, and we already talked about that 10 years ago, is IoT, Internet of Things. And that's also fine. So you have your occupancy measurement in buildings. You have a lot of cases that you can use it also for your service delivery, like cleaning services, that you link that with each other. So I think the first thing is you have to collect and assess all the data coming from the different yeah, software or platforms that are available in the building. So that's also the first thing. And coming back to that, I think it's also important that if you're going to do new development of real estate, or you're doing renovations of big corporate office, for example, I think it's really important to think about this, about how you're going to gather the data and what are the objectives for not only the building owner, but also later on for the building occupier and the service provider who is going to deliver services in those environments. So I think it's really important in that phase already that you think about this and see how you can contribute, choosing a right building management system, smart lighting, all those kind of things. So when you collect and assess all that information, the next thing is, of course, you want to improve and you want to monitor a lot of things. So you want to transform the data that you have and get the insights and make your improvement plan. So where you balance, of course, all the objectives that you've set. And then on the other hand, the last thing is, of course, you also want to report and disclose. So what are the reporting that are necessary from the legislation and what is necessary for internal and external requirements. So I think these are all steps in a process where technology can help you a lot. So it's really optimizing continuously your whole building's operation and maintenance. So, and again, as I said in the previous question, of course, it's also about the occupants and their experience, how you can contribute to that. So, and that is really now talking about the built environment, but I can also give you other examples, of course, because it's also about your workplace strategy and occupancy rates and making it more efficient. But your health and safety, as I said, your indoor climate management, workplace management is also a thing that can be really important in that. So linking your strategy to that. So I think we also have a lot of how to say that certificates that you can earn with being a sustainable building, like a well-being or BREEAM, for example. So all this, I think it's a whole ecosystem of technology that you need to be able to connect to each other to a central platform. Yeah.
Very key insights. So then very good examples also that, service providers can make note of. So I want to wrap this up since we are almost running out of time. Do you have any more advice for how service providers can contribute towards sustainability and achieving those objectives for their customers?
Yes, sure, certainly I can. So maybe first start with a quote of Richard Branson. So I like how to say that the books that he wrote in the past. And one of the quote is, "Screw it, let's do it. Just get on with it and do it." I think that's the first advice. So, and I think for facility management service providers, look at it and make a two-step approach. First of all, look to your internal organization. What are the things that you can do as a facility management service provider? And within sustainability, again, there are a lot of topics to talk about, but to give you some examples, a lot of them, they have a lot of operational staff, and they have a big fleet, so a lot of cars driving around to service their customers. So the first thing is, also in a lot of regions all over the world, electrical vehicles will be the future. So I think this is already a thing with changing your car fleet from fuel-driven to more electrical-driven uh, approach. I think that's really important. But also looking at, for example, again, how can they contribute to the workplace, because they are there every day. They are delivering services. So thinking about catering services, for example, yeah, I think waste management is really important over there. So how can you see all the flows, report on that, but also for cleaning, link it to occupancy rates in big corporate buildings, that they are not cleaning each day all the workplaces, because that's not necessary anymore. So to create more efficiency. So I think that is more on the internal organization, and of course they can do more things, of course. But then also they can contribute to their customers, because as I said just before, they are there every day. So they can create a health and safety environment. They can create that total experience and make sure that the branding of the company is becoming at a higher level. But also they can deliver new service delivery models on sustainability. How can they contribute to that? So I think that's also really important to look at it and how they can help achieve those ESG objectives that their customer having. And maybe they can also do some energy monitoring and make reports about it. And as a last thing I want to say, I think really also for facility management service providers, I think they also have to embrace technology to achieve all these objectives.
Wow, that was some really good insights, Mr. Thompson. Thank you so much. We got to learn so much about, what really the market is doing to implement this change towards a more sustainable future, if I may add so. But also we got some very good tips for the service providers out there who are listening to us. So thank you again for taking time out for us.
Thank you, Mega. It was my pleasure.
With that, we come to the end of the episode. We sure hope you enjoyed this one. We encourage you to leave your comments below, and you can hear this podcast on SoundCloud or hear us directly on our social media handles or even our website, www.remtimes.com. Until next time, this is it from On Point.